Namaste. So let us discuss the second part of the tailwinds thing. So what we have discussed is, so many of you may have, whoever has watched it would have had, why are we discussing this headwinds and tailwinds? Why are we discussing this is, as mentioned in the headwinds video, that wherever you live, whichever country you are, headwinds are given, bad news is given, and that occupies the headline. So every day you will be hearing that something is going wrong here, something is going wrong there. So you may have a question, is there no bad news that I should worry about? Yes, I would say two bad news that you should worry about. There may be other. As of now, I'm not able to put it forward. So one bad news that you have to worry about is if there's a nuclear war. Then I think it's almost like the end of the world or end of the system that we are seeing as of today. Or two that you have to worry is if an event or a set of events together happen which stunt GDP growth, like GDP growth or the country has become a place where people can't do businesses, business can't grow, people can't start new businesses, or for some reason no incomes are not growing, companies are becoming bankrupt, and you think this is not going to change. Like let's say you may think some events like this happened post 2008, like companies went bankrupt, people lost jobs, but there is a recovery post that, right? So you need not worry. But if you think some event or set of events are leading to a place where structurally no new jobs will be created, people are already working, will not see their incomes grow, GDP growth is stunted, new companies are not coming up, nobody is positive on a very long run basis, not for 1 2 3 years, on a 20 30 year basis, you think this is done deal, then I think then that these two are the bad news that you should worry about. Like second example, we were like that in 70s when if you remember, Congress government nationalized everything. So what is wrong with nationalization? If your what is the problem with having a public sector? Public sectors will not be competitive. They will not have the hunger for growth. Like if I'm a private guy, I started, let's say, investing with few lakhs, I will have the hunger to make it as big as possible. But a guy who has already got a government job will not be having that kind of hunger. He will not be competitive. When you don't have that competitiveness, when you don't have that fear that you may lose market share, you may lose your customers, you may stop getting the revenues that you are getting, you will never invest for the future and try to become good. So once everybody in the country is working for government, then you can be sure that that economy is doomed. So something like that happens, then you should be worried. As of now, I don't think we are anywhere near it. So let us not go there. So that is why we were discussing headwinds. First, bad news will keep coming, don't worry. But there are two bad news that you should worry, which I just mentioned. Then come to tailwinds. Why are we telling you that you should worry, you should look out for tailwinds? Because tailwinds are what create growth. And you should only invest in economies or companies where you think there will be growth. Like India should become from currently 3 trillion to 5, 8, 10, 15, 20 in the next 30, 40 years. If you don't see that investing for next 20, 30 years in the country would not be an easy job. So we are just trying to put the concept of tailwinds before you so that you can appreciate and understand that returns come only when there is growth. If there is no growth, there are no returns. So I'm using this video as just an extension of the previous video before going on to the next video to discuss why we are positive on India and what we think India is doing and where India is becoming competitive and what are the tailwinds that will take our country's GDP from 3 trillion to 7, 8 trillion in the next 12, 13 years. So I'm just using this video, look at this video as an extension of the previous video. Okay, I will take two examples. In one where we have created the tailwind and we are seeing the benefits, and then another where we are trying to, now we are in the policy level. Let's see whether we will become competitive in that sector. So let's take IT. I've discussed in depth of how IT helped Indian economy grow, but is it, see, because why am I, okay, let me be more clear. Why am I trying to tell you this? I'm trying to tell you this because there is a notion that economies left alone will grow on their own. It doesn't happen. It happens once we are already rich, once systems are in place, once everything in place is in place. But for a poor or a less developed country, the country needs to become competitive in as many sectors that it is needed. For a Sri Lanka country like Sri Lanka, which a 2 to 3 crore population, it doesn't need a host of sectors. It just needs to be competitive in few places which can create incomes that can grow in their economy for their population. But for a country like India or US or China, which has population running into billions or crores, let me say crores, you need to be competitive in as many sectors as possible, because there are so many people who are looking for their incomes to grow and prosper in their life. Okay, so this is a notion that many people have, that whatever anybody does or doesn't do, economy will keep growing. No, it doesn't happen like that. Especially if you are a less developed or a poor economy, it's like when you are a poor, let's say you are coming from a poor or a lower middle class family, you just don't grow. You have to find where the tailwind is and develop competencies, as we have discussed in the last video. So it's the same thing for country. If you do not develop the competencies, definitely your incomes will not grow. It's the same thing that applies for the country also. So let me talk about an industry where we had a success. Let me take IT. When will India become competitive in IT? Are we, like, do you think Indians were all learning coding from the last 100 years and suddenly world found out India in 91? Okay, yeah, there is a country where there are so many software developers, let us go outsource to them. No, it didn't happen like that. First jobs came, then people learned coding, right? You learned coding because you think learning coding will give you a job. First job should come, only then people will learn, right? So for this to happen, when will jobs come? Only when you create an environment for the investors and entrepreneurs that, boss, you can start a software company here and create jobs, and we will do all the necessary things that are required for this industry to flourish. So what did India do for an IT companies or for the IT industry? It created SEZs, it created tax policies, it did everything that is required for an entrepreneur to come and set up here. And the benefit went to all the cities which already had education institutions, and government forced those education institutions to introduce computer science classes. And if you see what happened in a state like Andhra Pradesh, there was a chief minister who understood this. So what he did, he simultaneously created incentives for the company to come and open engineering colleges left, right, center. And each college will have computer science degree. So at the same time, you are creating talent pool which these companies can recruit, and also giving predictability for the entrepreneurs or the investors that, boss, don't worry, if you invest here, we will give you the talent pool, we will give you the land, we will give you the internet connection, whatever you want, we will give you. You come and put your investments here. You will make profits. So first investment should come, then you should provide all the resources, inputs required, and keep working on it till India becomes competitive, right? For first 10, 15, 20 years, government was hand in glove working with the industry. Only then that industry will take off. And now today, whether you take an IT services company or IT product company or even consultancy, it is all inundated with Indian developers, right? Or Indians. So did we earn it just like that, or did we work on it? Initially, people used to say Infosys, TCS are all body shops. Now people are working on, take anything, we are good at it. Now we are doing high-end job. Initially it used to be copy paste. Today we are doing both low-end and high-end. So tomorrow there will be Web3. Many more things will come, and we are at the forefront of capturing that opportunity. So this is how a country creates competency in a given sector. Okay, and you can see the benefits. I don't want to go into the benefits that India got as an economy because of so many people becoming crore-pratis, millionaires, and indirect benefits that India got. I'm just telling you that you need to create that environment. India as a country should create an environment for investors and entrepreneurs to come and invest. Give them what all is required, and then they will work on it, because they are not, an entrepreneur or investor cannot lay roads, internet connections, water supply. They can't do all these things. Policies, land acquisition. This is something that India has to give them. And the talent pool. They can't go and ask education institutes, please introduce these courses. They can't create policies. That India has to do, or the government has to do. Then investors will come, entrepreneurs, risk takers will take the risk, and we may succeed. We succeeded in IT. And let me now take Let's see at other example where now we have just started putting our first foot. So you know that semiconductors have become ubiquitous. I think all of you would have heard about things like Internet of Things. It is becoming like chips. Semiconductor chips are getting into every device that you use. I have not seen, but I've heard that there are clothes or apparels which are having chips in them, and people collect data like your everything that you use, your watch, your everything that you use is having a chip, data collection and then data analysis and all those things. So semiconductors have become ubiquitous, and two countries, Taiwan and South Korea, are leading in that. Should India take up, because we are going to spend so much on semiconductors and world has so much demand for semiconductors, should India sit back and just buy from Taiwan and South Korea? Or should India also try to build competencies and create its own market share? It can't get the 100%, but should it do it? We never did it, but the current central government is trying to create a scheme which, if we are successful, if everything falls in place for the next 10, 12, 15 years, we think we will become we will also create 3-4 companies, or companies which are already successful somewhere will come and do it from India. And India will also be a place where semiconductors will start getting exported from. So there will be a lot of jobs getting created. So let's see what currently India is trying to do with it. We may fail, but let's see what we are trying to do.
Here on CNBC TV 18. Let me start by asking you about the 76,000 crore rupee PLI scheme for semiconductors. As I pointed out, this has been something that India has been aspiring to do for almost 2 decades now. If I may start by asking you, how did you arrive at this number, sir, at the 76,000 crore rupee incentive package that the government is hoping to roll out? What is the basis, the rationale behind this number specifically?
So Shireen, today's approval by Honorable Prime Minister in the Cabinet is for a complete comprehensive development of the semiconductor ecosystem. So this is not just a PLI, right? This is investment as capital support investment, investment for design, investment for creating talent pool, investment for near term, mid term and long term. So it's a very, very comprehensive package that has been approved today. If you give me a couple of minutes, I'll explain the entire contours, right? So if you look at a semiconductor
Please
ecosystem,
go ahead,
first and foremost is the silicon. Yeah. So first and foremost is the silicon fab, right? Then the display fab, then the compound semiconductors, then comes the packaging. So if you look at this, this is your classic fab, right? On this fab, you'll have nanometers printed chips. Those chips will come out. They will have to be packaged, right? So the packaging industry, which is ATMP, some call it OSAT, whichever ways you call it, that's a huge industry. Then you put it in your circuit boards, right? Then it goes into any device. Now, behind this, there is a whole design ecosystem. So silicon fab, display fab, compound semiconductors, packaging, design ecosystem, and then finally creating a complete talent pool so that this industry sustains for and grows for next 20 years. That is what Prime Minister Modi.
So let us see what currently India is trying to do. It is creating incentives. It has already invited bids from people who are interested to work on semiconductor manufacturing in India. So they are talking about silicon fab, display fab, compound semiconductors, packaging, design, talent pool. For talent pool, they've also tied up with many universities and already started introducing semiconductor courses there. And because by the time this industry comes up, you need to also provide the talent pool. Now you can't depend on some thousands and thousands of engineers coming from some other country. So, and then you have to give high quality water supply and continuously high quality power supply. So what currently India is doing, it has invited many states. It has told the states, boss, whoever is interested, please come out with what you can offer to the industry. It has taken everybody into consideration, prepared a policy document. Now companies are bidding for it. By next year, you will know who are those guys. They will try to manufacture in India. In the next 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, if we become competitive, we will get market share. If we are not competitive, then all this investment is waste. And that is how a country should think about things. Yeah, we may fail. Taiwan and South Korea may still, even after investing so much for 10, 15 years, we may not become competitive and we may end up losing all the market share and all this investment may go in drain. But as a country, because we need to provide job for so many people and we want incomes of our population to go up, we need to do the same thing across many industries. Right? And I will explain in your next video where are the other industries where government is trying to do what and the probability of success in which industries is higher. I don't know anything about semiconductors as of now, so I don't want to give an opinion. So you may be thinking, boss, who are we to decide what government? I'm not trying to say what government should do or do not do, where India should import or export. As far as possible, if you can become competitive, not by protecting your industries, but by helping them, working along with them, giving them time, initially protecting and slowly opening up each sector. If we can create world-class companies in each sector, then they will create jobs here. India will, because it's like, just take your personal experience. If you are not invested in yourself, if you are not gone, taken up education, also you would survive. Instead of buying a car, you would be roaming around in cycle. Instead of buying a branded shirt, you will be buying a normal apparel. It's not that you will roam without clothes if you're not educated and you're not. Some you have to eat, whether you are an IAS officer or a chapras, you have to eat. So this economy will continue even if you don't do anything. But that economy will not create income growth. Right? Incomes will only go when you ride the tailwind, when you go and see where the incomes are there and go capture it. It's not free. It's not that all Indians are already good at computer science and world came searching for us. No. We understood that there is an opportunity if we become competitive and then started working towards it, right? It's the same thing. As many as industries possible, we should try to do it. What should be done, how it should be done is not something that I can sit in Somaji Goda and Hyderabad and tell everybody, but this is how economies develop. You can see the story of China. I will say China because it's a recent example. What China did in 30 years, maybe we will take 50 years or 80 years because we had a democracy, land acquisition is tough, labor laws are tough to push through. There are a lot of things that are difficult to push through, but that is a direction we should go in. We should not go in the direction where we were in 70s that you nationalize everything. The moment you nationalize everything, the moment sectors are in government's hands, there's no concept of competitiveness. Nobody is afraid of losing customers. Nobody is afraid of tomorrow's revenue because everybody, whether the company has revenue or not, I will get my salary. So definitely that will create structurally weak industries across. It will be a structurally. That's why wherever public sector is there, mostly it would be weak, right? So this is how an economy. I would prefer you to look at China, but not expect China to happen in India. We will be much slower than China. But that direction, even US does the same thing, but US did long back, so I'm not going to US because US has taken 200 years. It was the first country to do it in such a large scale, so it took its own sweet time. So it is Japan learned from US, South Korea learned from Japan and US, Germany learned from, the whole of Europe learned from US, Japan, and then China has learned from all these people. We have to learn from all those people and do it. That is how growth happens. So why I am doing this video again on tailwinds is, you need to be sure that your country has enough tailwinds for your per capita to go from 2,000 to 10,000, for your GDP to go from 3 trillion to 10 trillion and eventually 20 trillion in the next 40-50 years. If that is not there, I think investments will not work as wonderfully as one expects. So, and tailwinds are not something that are given to you. You have to build competencies. Look at what happened in defense. We are the 4th or 5th largest purchaser of defense equipments, but we all buy from outside. So what is the disadvantage of it? You have to buy from outside if you cannot do it at all. But you don't try to do it and start depending on outside. What will happen? Then your foreign policy is a function of that guy's priorities. Today we are in good terms with Russia, so we are not complaining. But let's say because you don't have a defense competence, now you are at the mercy of Russian thing, right? That should not be the case. That doesn't mean you don't buy anything from anybody, but I'm saying you should take all these into consideration and start diversifying, start building competencies that you should not be looked upon as a guy who's not competent at anything and just buying, especially when you are poor. Right? Great. So this, I think, is something that we have to look out for as investors. You have to see whether our country is going in that direction, and the opportunities are immense because Indians by DNA are extremely talented and extremely gifted, and you can see it. As long as India was not providing the tailwinds, what happened? All the competent people left the country and rode the tailwinds outside. All doctors went to UK and US. All engineers went to US. So this is bound to happen. Even today people are leaving, but I think the number at the pace at which they are leaving has come down drastically, and it will come down more drastically. And I think as a country we're in the right direction. And I would spend more time on why we are positive on India. Because I want to first establish that tailwinds are important. That is why I've taken a second video and see this video as a continuation of the last video. And I'm trying to impress upon you that tailwinds are important, and it is not something God given. That okay, whoever is there, whether we don't do anything, tailwinds will just come. No, it is not like that. Right? We have to, as a country, work towards becoming competitive and capturing future opportunities. Like tomorrow, there is a green tech, renewable energy. People are talking about electric vehicles. We have to make sure that we have some market share. We are competitive. We are not dependent on the world completely, because we have so many people to create jobs. And if we can become competitive, we will create incomes for so many people. And then that is how we can grow and become a much larger economy. I think that is happening, going to happen. Let me stop here, and then in the next video I will definitely work on why we think we are positive on India, and what are the areas where India is creating tailwind for itself, and also because of that for the investors. Okay, thank you.